podcast. I'm your host, Rainbow Tomes, and every episode we explore how grief touches our lives at home, at work and beyond. And today's guest is Hannah O'Hare, CEO of Forest Home Hospice Charity. Welcome, Hannah.
Welcome.
So
Thank
good
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me.
So what has brought you to this conversation today?
I don't have personal experience of sort of direct grief myself, but I think where my interest in it lies is that I've worked in the hospice sector for 14 years now, and I'm now in a leadership role, and I've seen not only grief from all of the relatives and the people that visit our charity office over those years, but also with my direct team as well, where they've had personal loss and how it's affected them in different ways, and also how it's sort of shaped the team as well over the years. So I'm not an expert or a counsellor, but I have seen a lot of grief over that time.
Yeah. All of those insights that you're kind of learning, and some of this learning through experience, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, no one is the same, and that's the thing that I've learned most about grief over that time. So how it affects one person is completely different to the next, and there's no timeline on it either. So some people appear to be okay quite soon after, but actually later down the line it might affect them, or it might have an impact on their physical health if they're not used to sort of verbalising how they're feeling. So it's been really interesting to see all the ways that people cope, and also all the emotions that come up and that are associated with grief as well.
And so how have you used your kind of knowledge within that industry as an employer? How has that influenced your work?
I think seeing that you shouldn't make comparisons has been a big learning thing for me. So I see this quite a lot. Oh, if I was in that position, this is what I would be doing, which I think is quite a dangerous thing to do, just because you feel that certain way. You don't know the history of that person, the relationship they've had, or how they've been taught to cope with emotion throughout their life. And also how good they are at verbalising how they're feeling. I think comparisons can be quite dangerous. So I try with my own team to actually, everyone is unique, everyone's going to have their own experiences and relationships with the person that they've lost. And I try just to see everyone as an individual and to empathise as much as I can with their situation, and do all that we can to be able to help those that we employ as well.
Yeah, and so that involves getting to know your team, because it's so individual, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm naturally a very empathetic person anyway. And our culture of our charity is that we don't really have a hierarchy. So it's very much one team, all in the office, everyone's ideas are equal. So I hope that everyone feels able to verbalise how they're feeling, or come to me if they're worried, or they've got anything going on at home, or anything looming. And I've had members of my team that have lost spouses during the time that I've worked with them, or close relatives as well. And just trying to communicate with them, seeing what they need, and trying to adapt and be as supportive as possible for those people, and trying to help them the best that I can.
Yeah, lots of listening, lots of support.
Lots of listening, yeah. Not trying to fix the situation, because you can't fix it, but all you can do is be there to listen and to support that person, making sure that the office environment is as good as it can be for them, giving them the time that they need as well, which I know is not always easy for small businesses, especially because having one person off can be the difference between making a profit or not making a profit for that year.
Yeah.
So that can be challenging for a small employer, but I just think you've got your policies in place, but if you can be flexible with your policies and sort of take it on every individual circumstances, and see what they need and how much you can adapt. And that always comes from the top, I think. You've got to lead by example. So if that person needs extra time, I'd always think, what can I do to help cover for the team? And then everyone else, I hope, would show that same willingness to support during that time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about there's a lot of pressure on leaders to get this right.
Yeah, and it is, you can never get it 100% right, and it is really difficult. And again, you've got to try and leave your own personal feelings at the door and your own sort of assumptions about what that person might be feeling, because you don't know what they're feeling. I've seen it where you have the more stoic members of staff who think, I just want to get back to work, I want to concentrate on what I'm doing, and I don't want to talk about it, which is their way of coping with it. And you can see that for a while, and sometimes it then affects them later down the line, whether that be their physical health or actually the pressure of the work and dealing with all of the emotions at home suddenly gets to them later on. Or you've got the other end of the spectrum where you've got people who are very willing to share, very emotional as well. So everyone is so different.
Yeah. And how do you balance all of those different needs? Because there's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And I think if a loved one, if an employee has got a loved one who's going through, say, a terminal illness, or they know that their loved one is unfortunately getting worse and worse, they'll be in that sort of stage where almost like anticipatory grief, where they'll start feeling the loss already before it's happened. So that might impact their work before actually that person has died. So it's just being aware of that, and then speaking to them and getting their line managers to speak to them. What support do they need? Do they need time off to be a carer, for example? Do they need time off to go to appointments with them? And I think where you can make those allowances, then do it. It's really important to show that flexibility. And then obviously after their loved one has died, then they'll need that time off to process. They've got the practical elements that they need to sort out as well. And I just keep that communication open with them to say, we're thinking of you, maybe arrange an office gift, but don't bombard them with any work information at that time, and just give them the space that they need to process it all, and then gradually start making contact again and find out what they need, what time off they need, or whether they actually feel like they want to come back to work, because don't assume that person as well wants to be off for a long time, because they might be struggling at home. So I'd always just lead by, what do they need at this moment? What can we do to support you? And just try and keep it as sort of simple as possible.
And actually, what you've just described takes the pressure off of managers and leaders, because if they're centering it around that support plan around that individual, it takes the pressure off to feel like I've got to know everything and I've got to come up with the right answers, because it's more that kind of working together with that employee, right?
Yeah.
Team member, yeah.
Absolutely. And then you're showing that you're listening, you're not just following a process because that's the way you've been told it should be done. Everyone has different needs, and everyone copes with things differently. So just treat everyone as an individual and adapt, and be willing to adapt. Yeah.
And what have you learned from the people that you support as a charity? Is there any surprises along your kind of learning of working with people and supporting people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like we've seen it all, but we probably haven't, because there's always different emotions that people are feeling. I mean, you see the expected responses to grief. I'd say the more common ones that people know, like the sadness. You have the shock or the disbelief stages as well, where they can't believe it's happening to them, and that can sometimes help them with the practical elements, but can be a challenge down the line, especially if they're stuck in that sort of stage of grief. We see anger sometimes, anger that has happened to them, anger towards other people, sometimes jealousy as well, because they might feel like they're missing out, or they've the future that they hope they had with their loved one has been taken away from them as well. So that's really hard and upsetting to see. We also see people that don't want to be alone, so they might suddenly jump into another relationship, and people can judge them for that. And we see a lot of judgment. It's like, how can you do that? Because I thought you loved your partner. How can you jump straight to another relationship? But that's what they need, and that's the comfort that they're getting at that moment. You don't know what their relationship was like with their spouse or what they've discussed, and everybody is different, like I've said before. And then I've seen other sides of it where they've been able to have all of that anticipatory grief, especially if it's a long illness, and they've almost reached a point of acceptance, which is really beautiful when you can see that, and they've had those conversations and they've been well prepared along the way. And then I've seen the people come out sort of the other side of it as well, where they've got hope again, that they've got a future again, or hope that they'll be okay, and that's enough for them. And I think that's nice and reassuring to see when people can get to that point as well.
Yeah, gosh. All these people that you've helped over the years, that you've supported, it's heavy work. What do you do to support yourself to be able to do this work?
It is really heavy work, but also it's a privilege to be in a role within a hospice setting, and to be able to have a small impact in someone's life when they're at the most vulnerable point in their life as well. So I think we've always just been taught that, I mean, there's no right way to say anything. I mean, you don't have to fix it for them. You just have to be there. You have to be you can be a listening ear, or you can just show an act of kindness, or you can signpost them to the right support. And sometimes that might be enough. And I think you create quite strong bonds with people when they're in those vulnerable stages. And we see people over the years that come back again and again into the charity office, and they might have days or months where they're not in a good place, they're really struggling, but then they might have other months when they're really happy, or they've formed new friendships, or they've met people at the bereavement group, and they're going on holidays together, and it's just so lovely to see that sort of stage of the journey as well. And it gives you hope as well that there is a future for people, especially when in the early days they think that there's no way forward and they can't get out of the darkness.
So it sounds like you're kind of almost like harvesting those moments of joy, the privilege it is to spend that time with the people and what they're experiencing, what they're going through. Yeah.
And it's something it will affect all of us at some point in our life. Grief is sadly part of life, and it's a natural process, and it's a part of the healing journey as well. And I think it is a privilege to be able to support someone and to make a small difference in someone's life. When they can't see a light, or they are struggling, I think it's important to show empathy and to show kindness to them at that stage.
Yeah, and it just made me think that like when people say you never know what someone's going through, you know, what they might be responding to, but there may be so much other stuff that they're trying to manage, they're trying to cope with. So having that kindness, really important.
Absolutely, and I've met some incredible people in this job who have been through so much, and then they still go on to help others. And I think if you can find a purpose, that's really important. And a lot of people find purpose in helping others, whether that be through volunteering or a career. A lot of people go into counselling actually, who have experienced their own grief or trauma in their life. And I think what a lovely thing to be able to do, to give back, to help other people that have been in a really dark place. So,
thank you. What a way to end our time together, thinking about kindness and offering that support to others. And I think sometimes people can view things like grief, mental health, loss as complicated and they're afraid of it. But actually what you've described today is, some really simple strategies like focus on the individual, kindness, that patience, that support. So thank you for coming along and sharing that with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So if this episode has resonated with you, please subscribe to our Talking Grief podcast and share it with anyone you feel might find it helpful. If you need support or resources on grief in the workplace, visit our website at www.thegrieftherapists.co.uk. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.